Hello everyone and welcome to Crafty History Rag Rugs. My name's Shoshana Frank. I'm an adult services librarian at the Neighbor Boulevard Library, and I'm so glad that you could join me today to learn about this super cool historical craft. Creative reuse, DIY, upcycling, and reduce, reuse, recycle are all modern buzzwords that have a long history of use. People have been reusing and repurposing worn-out materials for centuries. Anytime you look back at your community, you can see an opportunity where people were reusing materials. Whether it was old fabric that they had laying around or from worn-out dresses, or as you can see pictured on the screen, rubber boots that have holes in the soles. There are all kinds of opportunities to reuse material in a way that helps our environment as well as helps the purse strings. As you can see here on the screen, this is a classic style of rag rugs that were pioneered in Sweden. It's all kinds of different material that was left over. You can see there's different colors and textures and fabrics, and when you bind them all together, they make a beautiful entrance to your home or by the kitchen sink. Today, we are going to be using worn out fabric from old t-shirts. You can of course use any type of fabric, just as you saw on the previous screen. We are also going to need a large piece of cardboard. The piece of cardboard will be a little bit bigger than the size you want your rug to be. Of course, we'll need scissors to cut up all this material, as well as a ruler and a marker or pen. As you may have guessed, there are many different ways to make rag rugs. Today, we're going to do it without any string or needles, but I encourage you to explore further online and find out different ways to make rag rugs if you enjoy this style. So you can see here pictured on the screen is my cardboard, pen, ruler, scissors, and one of my t-shirts that I'm going to be cutting up. Also pictured is the beginning of my cardboard loom, along with some of the weaving that I have already started. All right, hopefully everyone is ready for some creative crafting. So as I mentioned earlier, you will need a marker, scissors, ruler, some old t-shirts, and a large piece of cardboard. The first thing we're going to do is create the loom on our piece of cardboard. To do that, we'll need a ruler, and what we will be doing is on both sides of the piece of cardboard, we will measure 1 inch from the end of the cardboard and draw a line all the way across. 1 inch from the end of the cardboard. So you can see there's my inch-long line on the cardboard. Now I'm going to mark 1/2 inch increments all the way across. So now I have my 1/2 inch increments all the way across, and I am going to draw lines to the end of my cardboard. So once you do that on one side, you'll want to do the exact same on the other side of your cardboard. So that means measuring 1 inch from the end of your cardboard, making a straight line, and then measuring 1/2 inch increments all the way down your line. So now we have both sides, as you can see, of our cardboard marked. I chose to do 1/2 inch increments all along these edges, because my t-shirt material is thicker and I wanted to make sure there would be enough room in order to do so. You can see I have pretty large squares for my finished rug. If you have narrower fabric, you can always do 1/4 inch or smaller on your tallies. It's totally up to you. This is an extremely versatile craft. So now we're going to take our markers in our loom and we are going to cut right on those lines that we've made to that 1 inch line on our cardboard. So each of those 1/2 inch dash marks we are cutting with our scissors all the way to the 1 inch line here. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other side. Perfect. Now we have both sides of our cardboard cut out. Kind of looks like fun fringe. So the next thing we're going to do is cut up our t-shirts. I have found that one of the easiest ways to do this is to lay out my t-shirt flat, cut right along the seams under the arms, and then cut strips all the way across. What you want to do is kind of estimate 1 inch strips, because as you can see here with t-shirts, it's stretchy material and the 1 inch strip curls up and becomes much smaller. Depending on the size of the rag rug that you are making, after you cut across and then cut your 1 inch strips of all of your t-shirt, you can cut down both of these seams on your strip, and that will make it shorter. If you're making a very large rug, you might want to keep them together because you'll need that length. Let me show you what I mean. So I am cutting right under the seam of the sleeve, all the way across. Ta-da! Now, I can either have a fun crop top, if that's the look, or set this aside, because I don't need that fabric any longer. You can see I kind of have a little ziggly line, and that's okay, because as I showed you earlier, the t-shirts stretch and curl, so we don't have to worry a ton about that. So now I'm kind of going to estimate about 1 inch, it's close enough, and cut all the way across my t-shirt. So I now have a giant loop of a t-shirt, and I need to make it into a string. So I am going to cut one side. You can see I either have a very long piece of fabric, or since I have a shorter rag rug that I'm making today, I'm going to cut the other side as well. Now that I have my strips, I'm going to pull on them to stretch them out a little bit. You can see they've already gotten much smaller. And I'm going to set that aside and do the next. Okay, so for the very last strip, the key part here is we don't want this hem here on the end. So I'm just going to kind of cut along the hemline, because it's not going to stretch as well as the rest of the t-shirt. So we don't need it, and we're going to just cut it right off. So now I'm going to dress our loom. So I'm going to take these plain gray strips, and what you will do is, as you can see here, for my long strips, I did every other color of different colors. You can do whatever pattern you want, and it's totally up to you. You don't have to do a pattern. This just kind of happened this way. The across strips are the ones that I wove in, and those also kind of have a pattern that was kind of unintended, but it looks super cool, so I'm happy with it. I have my long strip, and I am fairly securely stretching it across my cardboard and tucking it in where I cut the cardboard on either side. Then I'm going to do that across my entire cardboard loom. Alright, so you keep doing that all the way down. And once you have that done, we'll come back for the next step. Alright, so you have dressed your entire loom. You may have noticed that for teaching purposes, I spaced mine out every inch instead of every half inch, so that you can see the weaving technique a little bit easier. To weave, we're going to take one of our t-shirt strips and we are going to go over, under every other strip on our loom. So I'm going to start by going over this and under the next, all the way across so you can see I've gone over, under, all the way up to the top. You can kind of pull a little bit more through so that you have even tails on either side, and then you can scoot your t-shirt tail up close to the fringe of your loom. The tighter you pull the t-shirt, the more dense of a rug that you will have. For us, mine is going to be a little bit looser, so it'll have more of like a puffy, cushiony look to it, which I'm pretty excited to see the results. So I'm going to grab my next piece of t-shirt, and for this weave, we're going to go opposite the one we did before. So that means we're going to start by going under and then over. So you want to make sure it's opposite of the t-shirt piece before it. You'll pull that all the way across, so you can see here on this loop we went under, so this next one we went over. And then you will scooch it over so that it's snug up next to the one before it. I'm going to grab another piece, and since we went under at the beginning row, I'm going to go over and then under the second, all the way across. Just like that. So you can see now this is over, the one before it was under, and it's over. So we have, this line is over, under, and then over, and I'll snug that up. All right, I want to make sure that you can really see what I'm talking about with the weaving. As you can see, I have under, so I'm going over this, under, over, under, over, all the way up to the top, and then I'm going to scoot my strand so it's snug against the one previous. You can see that they are weaving, but this is under and over, and it is creating our rug. So then you'll keep doing that all the way across your loom from one side to the other. Once you've finished weaving your strands all the way across your loom, you're going to tie them off with a square knot. So you'll take your two strings, you'll take your right over left, and then your left over right, and you have a nice square knot. And then you'll do that with the next one, right over left, and then left over right. Another square knot. You'll do that for both sides of your strands, and then you'll also do that for the end, where you'll unhook this from your cardboard, and you will do right over left and left over right, and have nice square knots. Once you have all of your square knots tied and all the way around your rug, you're going to trim your excess here. So you're going to get your handy dandy scissors and simply cut off what you don't want. And they can all be the same length, they don't have to be. It's really your own preference. Thank you all for joining me. I can't wait to see your rag rugs. I hope you enjoyed making this craft as much as I did. Goodbye.